Originally titled Hunger, Little Nightmares is a puzzle platforming horror game developed by Swedish developer Tarsier Studios. The game follows the adventures of a 9-year-old girl named Six as she traverses an underwater vessel known as the Maw, filled with gruesome monstrosities. If we talk about horror games, the likely contenders would be the usual Resident Evil 7, Prey, Outlast, etc. Puzzle platformers and horror are an unlikely pair to say the least. Yet, it works. A main reason may very well be the fact that rather than relying on external fear, such as jump scares and eerie environmental design, puzzle platforming horror games rely on adrenaline and cognitive dissonance to incite fear in its player. Cognitive dissonance can be boiled down to having two conflicting beliefs or ideas regarding the same subject. Let's use this level from Chapter 2 as an example. Here you must make your way past the janitor, a blind, long-armed enemy in order to reach the next section. What the janitor lacks in sight, he makes up for with acute hearing and a remarkable sense of smell. Everything in your body will tell you to run, and at first, you likely will. However, that won't get you very far. In order to get past this section, you must sneak towards the enemy to alert him, and then remain completely still as he fumbles around to find you. Every inch of your body is screaming at you to run, telling you that he's literally right next to you and your only chance at survival is to make your way through as fast as possible, and this is where the cognitive dissonance comes into play. You know that running is a mistake, but common sense tells you not to stand in the open near the thing that could very well kill you. Anxiety and fear result without the game needing to rely on scare tactics or cheap thrills. You essentially scare yourself. And this anxiety and confusion is only exacerbated by the visual storytelling the game relies so heavily on. From pictures on the wall to hand-drawn images placed in unlikely locations, with the game rarely ever explicitly telling you what's going on. The developers leave much of the story to your own interpretation and theories. From the start, Little Nightmares greets you with a short cutscene of a woman looking back at you before starting off in a children's prison guarded by the janitor. The first chapter of the game is filled with toys and sleeping children, with the second chapter taking a much darker turn. Caged children being carried off, likely to the kitchen, and creepily vacant rooms filled with toys that portray a story of past horrors. For the first 3 chapters of the game, you're portrayed as the hero. Armed with nothing but a lighter, you are the guiding light and the sole refuge of sanity within the game. All of this begins to change during the 4th chapter. Right here, we see a drawing of our character. We're not some kidnapped child escaping from a prison filled with monsters. We're one of those monsters. This is our home. If it wasn't, why would this drawing be so far away when the last child we've seen is in the 2nd chapter? In each chapter, your character gets hungry. A seemingly annoying mechanic at first that by the 2nd chapter seems like a silly way for the game to trap you or move the narrative along. As you continue playing, however, things get darker. What starts off as eating a loaf of bread given to you by a child, ends with you being forced by the game to eat a gnome in Chapter 4. A choice your character deliberately makes rather than eating the food the gnome attempts to hand you. What makes this even more disturbing is the fact that during the entire game and minutes prior, Six would hug the gnomes. These creatures are very skittish, running away at the first sign of danger. They act as a sort of collectible, requiring you to find them and hug them to calm them down. But then why would your character go from hugging these creatures to eating them when other options are clearly made available? The answer is the ever-popular internal conflict. At this point, there's little doubt that Six is a monster, a fact that becomes even more apparent during the game's 5th and final chapter. However, this doesn't mean she accepts that fact. These little creatures are the only thing that Six has never shown aggression towards. She cuts off the arms of the janitor. She smashes the statues of the lady. And she uses the cages of children as stepping stones. Every move you make is grounded in selfish desires except for the gnomes. You actively seek them out, not to harm them, but to help them, until you've earned their trust and they approach you, that is. When 6 gets hungry and the screen begins to fade in and out of darkness, what we see is a person struggling to hold back the monster within them. But as the hunger gets greater and the lines begin to blur, the voices in her head get louder and louder until she ultimately gives in, destroying the only remaining shred of humanity within her. In the next chapter, you go to the lady's quarters. As you see rooms filled with paintings of yourself, it all begins to make sense. The lady is your mother, and for whatever reason, she sent you down to the depths of the maw. Why did she banish you? Every mirror but one has been destroyed. Was she jealous of your beauty? Or did she send you away out of fear of what you might become? Regardless of the answer, you want revenge, and so with the only remaining mirror, you kill her. You fight the source of your anger and destroy it, and as the hunger creeps up one final time, you eat her. This is the end of your internal conflict. You can now leave satisfied as you've killed almost everything in your way. This is who you are. This is who you've always been. This is what you've been hiding. As you make your way outside, sucking the life force out of everything on the way, the only thing you've left alive are the gnomes. One question remained at this point. Was any of it real? As you make your way through the maw, your hunger gets greater and the monsters you face get more gruesome and violent. And it is not until the 4th chapter that the enemies you face actually eat you after grabbing you. The game never gives you a game over screen when you die. Instead, you simply wake up. Were you the only monster here? Was everything just in your head? Were you the true villain all along on your selfish quest for revenge against someone who might very well have locked you away for the greater good? The way Little Nightmares handles horror isn't by attempting to scare you, but rather by making you question everything you've experienced up to this point, showing us the monster that's within us all, and just how easy it is to become a product of our environment, as well as how little control we truly have at times regarding our own fate. In a way, 6 represents us all, and the internal conflict we face every day, trying to show the world that the hunger we all feel doesn't control us. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider checking out my Patreon or subscribing. I also have a Discord if you want to talk to me about new videos I'm making. I'll be releasing at least 2 or 3 videos like this a month, maybe more. So come talk to me if you want. See you next time.